Chemicals. Just a fourth episode of Positive Past podcast here. Today we're speaking with Corey, aka Chaos, from Hamilton there. Um, just, obviously a lot of people know that we're starting this podcast to help people open up and I guess just help the bros, make it a bit more normal to be able to talk about the more heavier side of the conversations. But we'll just start off with getting Corey to introduce himself. Just talk about where you come from, bro, a little bit of your background so that people get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, sweet, sweet. Well, first, thanks for having me, bro. Um, as you've already mentioned, my name's Corey, aka Corey Chaos. Yep, a nickname given to me due to my chaotic nature and my sort of, some would say, free-spirited being, so to speak. My background, I guess currently I'm in the fitness realm, so fitness, health and fitness is my sort of realm currently. I've been amongst that for the last, be going almost 5 years now, and through that time, a lot of ups and downs with the mindset,
Yeah.
and a lot of sort of those discovery as well. I was very overweight about 5 years ago, and that's when I sort of decided that it was time to make a bit of a change there, and that's what led me on the path of health and fitness in the first place.
Yeah.
I taught myself a lot of it and got very interested. I lost about 25 kgs on my own, and then from there I thought, yeah, I'm pretty sure I could probably help some others out
Yeah.
there, and then also have a bit of a more relatable story with new clients. A lot of people used to think that I was always fit, and not the case at all.
Yeah.
So when I'm able to tell that story or that side of me, then yeah, that's definitely helped a lot
Yeah.
with what I do now. Amongst all that, this year I took on a role in nutrition and also mindset coaching.
Hey.
So what we do there is obviously we offer the nutrition and the training and things like that, but the biggest part of being successful there is having a stronger mindset. So just with my experience over the last sort of 5 years and dealing with my own demons,
Yeah.
I've got a bit of a, I guess, unique perspective on how to how to get through it, and also just a few different things that I've done or taught myself or learned along the way that can be molded to help some others. So yeah, that's basically me as I am now. My background before all that was hospitality. So I was in the hospitality game for about 10 years since I was 18.
Yeah.
17 rather, and still got a foot in the door. Now I just enjoy the customer service side of it and stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely, I went from one end of the spectrum to the other, finishing work at 4 a.m. going and getting up at 4 a.m. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've been able to see how both sides of sort of live, I guess.
Yeah.
Of a roller coaster. So
yeah.
Yeah. That's been the journey so far. I'm 29 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sheesh. No.
Yeah.
No, bro, that's still young buck, bro. Still plenty of years, bro.
Yeah, I'm thinking, about 65 or so. Start going backwards after that. So.
Yeah. Bro, you'll be sussed and retired by then, eh, bro?
You'll be happy to depart by then, I reckon. Start
Yeah.
losing your hair and your teeth. Nah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, that's mean though, because obviously, like when I was talking to Kev, he mentioned you through the hospo side of things, You know, he said that you guys used to work
that's right.
together, just like me and Kev used to work together back at Snow Planet and that. And you know, like I don't know if you've watched Kev's one, but he talked about how much pressure and stuff there is in the sort of hospo side of things that I guess contribute to the higher suicide rate in like I guess the hospitality side of things. What's some of the
Yeah,
sort of like do you have any like similar or different pressures that you get from the hospo side and like the dietary and working outside? Do you find any
yeah,
similarities or is there quite just a big difference in
question.
between?
No, I don't think there's too many variables between the two
Mm,
industries. I th- for me, because of the lifestyle of hospitality and the lengthy hours and the stress that
mm,
comes with it, um, it's not a great combination for your mind anyway. So,
yeah.
for example, like we were, this is pretty much illegal now, but when we used to do 10-hour shifts, just
Mm,
nonstop, 10 hours, no breaks, nothing like
yeah.
that. You just go, 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 10 hours straight, whatever it is, sometimes
Yeah.
longer.
Mm,
Sometimes you have, only 4 or 5 hours sleep or something, and then you have to be back and that kind of thing. And obviously, when you finish, you want to wind down. So a lot of us are getting together and having drinks after, so we're
yeah.
getting even less sleep, for
Mm,
example. We're just getting horsed, so that's detrimental to your health anyway. And then we're always eating at our venue,
yeah. Yeah.
so you're not. I mean, yeah, it tastes good, and some of the stuff you could probably make better choices on what dishes
Yeah.
you eat, and that, but for the most part, it's restaurant eating every day and drinking is, close to 5-6 days a week is pretty stressful on the body. So
Yeah.
naturally, your mind's going to be under a bit of stress as well. Wherever your body goes, your mind goes. Wherever your mind goes,
Mm,
your body goes.
yeah.
Essentially, um, for me, being in the industry as long as I was and having those habits, I definitely started to, the self worth
Mm,
diminished, and I think for me, what happened was it became motivation to, one, not treat hospitality um, as a lifestyle,
yeah. Yeah.
and I just started to, I guess, make better choices with my health.
Yeah.
Um, and so now I enjoy the industry for different reasons, not the drinking and I
Mm,
mean that social side of it with your mates and it's like a family and stuff. That's the good part about hospitality, but
yeah.
a lot of there's a lot of bad habits that come with it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so
Definitely,
I
man.
think for sure I had some I guess dark days. Um, Never to the point where I was you know hating the world or anything
Mm,
like that. Um, I did get diagnosed with depression for a short time while I was still in hospitality, and that was just kind of during that crossover
mm.
between the two industries.
Yeah.
Um, and once I did leave and really commit to the fitness and things, the mindset started to change again.
Yeah.
But then, you know, that's you're going to have stress and things like that, and anything that you do really. Hospitality as a combination isn't the best, but on the other hand, fitness is quite similar when you're a trainer. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm up early, but I'm also in bed late. So I'm still
Yeah.
working stupid hours, long hours, and I think the difference there is that with clients, a lot of the clients that you are getting aren't good up here.
Mm,
You
mm.
you have to be mentally strong for them and always be, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Yeah, real
Yeah.
high energy.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't do that,
Mm,
and take on those energies of other people. And if you're seeing 8 people a day that all have had a shitty day or feel shit or have a
mm.
shit mindset, then for the most part you're gonna start to cop some of that too. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, the fitness is very similar. It's just, I guess, different environment,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. So the
Although
pressures and the
fitness,
stress is
yeah,
the same, but
pretty
just
much
what you do physically is just the only difference.
the only difference, yeah, in my experience. And that even there, so um, I was at probably my worst at the end of last year, start of this year.
Yeah.
So I was on this great path of, I was working a lot. I enjoyed it. I was probably the fittest I've been, the lightest I've been. I was boxing. Yeah, I
Yeah.
had a few fights during that time, and then somewhere along the line, there kind of lost myself a little bit. A bit of a
Mm.
loss of identity,
Yeah.
and you started to question what my purpose was, and
Mm.
you know,
Mm.
that I started to dabble in things that I wouldn't normally.
Yeah.
Started around people that I now look back and think I shouldn't have been, but
Mm.
they're no longer around me now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't know that sort of stuff at the time, and then it all snowballed. And
Yeah.
I started picking up other bad habits.
Yeah.
I was fitter, so I had more attention from people
Mm.
as well. I was in a relationship for 6 years during this space as well, so she'd seen me at my worst, seen me at my
Yeah.
best, seen me at my most lost, all that
Mm.
stuff. And through that phase there, I really did things that I look back now and wish I didn't. But
Yeah.
at the same time, all that stuff that happened, all those people I met, all those
Mm.
decisions I made have all now began to make sense why I went through that.
Yeah.
You know, I I credit a lot of my knowledge now to having done
Yeah.
having done the unthinkable, or
Mm.
the the not so just,
Yeah.
so to speak. Got pretty into drugs there for a while.
Yeah.
You know, hanging around people that were also into drugs.
Mm.
Uh, so it definitely snowballs, and that's where the similarities between hospitality and fitness actually do
Yeah.
coexist, because it happens in both. It's just yeah, like I say, the environment's different.
Mm.
So as much as looking after your body is a great thing, you
Yeah.
can fall into these other things that,
Yeah.
just because you start walking around thinking, oh man,
Yeah. Looking all sexy and shit, eh?
yeah, I had all
Head's
these
all
new
up here.
muscles, and
Yeah.
yeah, I had all these new muscles and new tattoos, and new eyes on me and stuff. So you start to kind of feel yourself a little bit,
Yeah.
and then everything crumbles.
Mm.
Eventually, it all catches up to you in the end, bro.
Yeah.
And then that's when you really learn the lessons of life.
Yeah.
So as much as I would have preferred not to go through any of that, at the same
Mm.
time, I'm grateful for those. I guess I don't want to call them mistakes. I want to call them yeah.
Experiences.
I want to call them experiences, because if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have been able to help as many
Yeah.
people as I have now.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, bro. And
yeah,
I feel like a lot of people think, like when they see like someone who's fit or working out or who somewhat takes care of themselves, like as if that person can't have bad days. You know,
yeah,
like people like to see this fit looking dude or this fit looking girl, and they think that because they're so good looking that they might have the world a bit better or things get given to them. But just because you work on yourself doesn't mean that you've got life any easier.
no, no,
It's usually life that turns you into um that turns you to wanting to go to the gym and start making these changes and stuff. So ultimately, it's kind of like life also breaks you to the point where you want to get into fitness, but then it can also break you in fitness because people don't understand what you're facing because of this facade that you're talking about, when you're, hey, how's it going? I hope you've been having a good day kind of thing. But really,
exactly.
you could just be fucking inside just screaming, yelling,
Oh
not even wanting to be there and stuff like that.
That was many days. Many days where, and that's what I sort of meant by where I kind of lost myself there, because I was basically playing a character.
Yeah.
That character was trying to give off the vibration that I'm, got it all together, and this like perfect human
Yeah.
of my friends and my family and my partner at the time,
Yeah.
and whatnot. But on the inside, I was pretty much dying.
Yeah,
I
bro.
killed whoever I was
Yeah.
inside, and I was playing this made up character just to impress people,
Yeah.
or feel some sort of pride that way. But yeah, it all catches up to you in the end, and
Yeah.
you definitely need to you definitely need to crash
Yeah.
or fall, or struggle to figure out what exactly it is that you're doing here.
Yeah,
And
bro.
some of that comes in the form of being found out, and then being up on it. And I was very fortunate to have the friends that I have, be able to be those people that could be straight up and say, look, you've changed, and you haven't changed for a good reason. Like,
Yeah.
the amount of times my best friends told me to pull my head out of my ass,
Yeah.
and I would blame them and blame everyone else, and be like, well, they're just upset that I'm this now and can't handle it. When in reality I was just actually a dickhead.
Yeah.
And so I'm very lucky to have those guys and have them still now. You know what I mean? Even
Yeah.
though they were
Yeah.
there through my, I guess, baddest times. Where I was. It got to the point where they were saying to me they didn't even recognize me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
you don't really. It doesn't hit at the time until everything else falls apart, and then you
Yeah.
start looking at yourself and go, well, look, they think it. You've lost this, you've lost that. You're not doing well here. You're not doing well there. Your
Yeah.
finances, you got that. Blah blah blah. I was on the wrong vibration.
Yeah.
When you're on the wrong vibration, everything starts to crash,
Yeah.
and it does that so that you can understand that you are on the wrong
Yeah.
vibration. You need to change your attitude, or figure out what elements of your life at that moment is what's causing you to be affected by the universe in this way.
Yeah.
And I had to lose it all before I could really understand that. Oh shit, I'm doing the absolute wrong thing here. And that's what happened.
Yeah. Bro, but you sort of need those your mates, bro. They just sound like real homies who have your back,
Yeah,
not because
yeah,
of what you're bringing to the table, or not because of the things you have, like because of you as a person. They hold you down because they liked you as a character, and
that's
it's
right.
good to have people like that who are able to pull you up, bro. Because fuck, if you don't have people around you that hold you down like that, bro, that's when you start, like losing family members, losing friends and stuff, and you start getting yourself into that mind state because ultimately you've changed in a way that you can't see, that only your friends and family can see, but you don't want to acknowledge it, but you want to sit there
Yeah,
and act like. Like you said, like it was all their fault, and everyone's leaving you because they're fucking something's wrong with them or stuff. But I think
yeah.
like it's got to get to a point where we start being honest with ourselves, eh, bro?
Oh, that's exactly it. I think when you talk so much bullshit, you start to believe your own bullshit.
Yeah, bro.
Because you're telling yourself over and over again that that's what it is, so that you believe that.
Yeah,
That now becomes your truth, when in reality it's just, again, you're just faking it. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah, and that's the thing too. I think not everyone has people that can do that for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of guys and girls actually that have that don't have good friends or don't have anyone,
Mm.
and had to hit the bottom and then realize, oh shit, you know what? I don't have any friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
There must be I must be doing something wrong. You
Yeah.
know, again, that's just another way of crash and burning before you
Mm.
really understand that you need to look at yourself and be honest with yourself and
Mm.
understand your flaws and your mistakes and some of the decisions you make and maybe
Yeah.
even your behavior towards other people.
Mm.
What are you telling yourself in the morning? You know, are you waking up and going, "Fuck, I'm gonna have a shit day"? If you do that, you are. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, you need to wake up with and at least just be happy on purpose. I think is the
Yeah.
biggest
Yeah.
for me. That was the big thing, was just waking up and saying to myself um, that I'm happy and it's gonna be a
Mm.
great day. That energy shift starts to manifest if you keep
Yeah.
saying it, you know.
Yeah.
And that was a key component for me.
Yeah.
Um, and even self worth, you know, I sort of came to a realization of myself where if I spoke to my friends the way I was speaking to myself, I wouldn't have any friends.
Mm. Mm.
You
Yeah,
know what I
bro.
mean? Like if you think about that, that's where we struggle is the listening to this little voice in our heads just saying how shit we are. You know?
Yeah.
And if you were to use that same voice and turn around to your brothers and sisters and friends and family and whatever, they would disown you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They wouldn't be your friend. They
Yeah.
probably wouldn't want to hang out with you. So what what I needed to do anyway, and what I sort of urge clients and stuff to do is, if they do talk to themselves, they need to make sure that it's positive and
Yeah.
uplifting and nourishing, so that they can begin the work of becoming their own best friend.
Mm. Yeah.
And it's that true. It's that saying, like, if you can't appreciate yourself or love yourself, then no one else is going to.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, definitely, bro. Like that's one thing that I feel like as well, and I found similar between me and you was that I got into a same point where I felt like my self worth wasn't where it should be, and I sort of was thinking the same things. Like, imagine if I was talking to my bros and that the way I've been talking to myself, like they'd probably try to scrap me, or like you said,
Yeah,
they'd probably turn their backs on me and stuff like that, and then just trying to find that self worth, but not lie to yourself, not waking up and pretending to be happy because, that's what you feel is best. If you're having a shit day, acknowledge that you're having a shit day, but work on the things that you can change to make it a better day. Things
yeah,
like that, because a lot of the
sure.
time we just get too, I guess, too caught up in our feelings a lot of the time instead of, acknowledging those
Internally as
feelings.
well.
Mm, mm.
It's always internal, you
Oh,
know.
bro, always, it's always
That's
starts off
that's
with
the issue.
yourself, bro. It's always starts off with yourself. And like you said before, if you don't love yourself, how are you meant to love someone else? Because that's where the
And
main problem
how are they
comes.
supposed to love you?
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. Because you
Yeah,
end up
and
just pouring all
because
your insecurities onto them.
yeah, and what I found is that people that don't particularly like themselves and they're in these relationships and they give everything to that person because they want that person to love them for them,
Mm,
you know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it becomes toxic because eventually you're gonna just be giving too much, and that person's going to either take advantage of that or not feel like they have to give you that in return
Mm,
because you're already giving it to them.
yeah.
Right? And then they will try to do anything possible to keep that person. And I had that recently where I was with a girl for a wee bit, and she had our sort of union came off the back of conversations where she was not mentally very well, and I offered help where I could, and she would come and she'd look after my dog for me. I thought that it would be a good sort of anxiety thing. And that's why I got my dog, was for my anxiety. So naturally I got her to hang out with the dog, and then she sort of started to come around a lot and we talk. I got to know her very well, and I guess eventually one thing led to another, and and through that union, because I sort of did feel more like a mentor.
Yeah.
And she still didn't really see her own self-worth. She gave everything she could to me, which actually started to push me away, because I knew that I couldn't accept what she was giving me because she can't give it to herself.
Yeah.
And we'd have these sort of, I guess, conversations where, she would express, but I do this for you and I give you this. And I just plain and simply said to her, look, it's not that you're not good enough for me, it's that you're not good enough for yourself. And because of that reason, I can't be a part of this anymore. And that was I hoped that it would be a wake-up call for her.
Yeah.
And her to be able to look within herself and think, maybe I'm going about things the wrong way and stuff like that. It became very toxic. To the point she wouldn't leave my house. She would threaten me with her own suicide. Emotionally blackmail me into staying with her. But it got to the point where I had to say, look, unfortunately, if you're going to threaten me with your own suicide, sake of keeping me, then I 100% cannot be with you any longer.
Yeah.
But it got to the point where I actually had to call the police on her.
Fuck. I know.
Wouldn't leave. So that was another sort of period of my life where I realized I was on the wrong frequency again.
Yeah.
Not only were we toxic for one another, the universe started to manifest in other ways. Just sort of let me know, look, you've been on this path for too long.
Yeah.
Here, your car is getting stolen. Here.
Yeah.
Finances are starting to play up again.
Yeah.
This is happening, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Strain on the flat, strain on my dog. She was starting to cop some bad anxiety and fear from that relationship as well. So, it was once I expelled that from my life, everything
started coming back together.
Started to flow on the right frequency again. And as much as I would like to know if she's okay and stuff like that, I know I'm not the person that can do that for her. And that's what happens sometimes. And as hard as it is, and this is what I would say to I guess other relationships that do sound similar to this, in the case of toxicity anyway.
Yeah.
As hard as it is to let that person go, it's going to be the best thing that you could ever do for both of you.
Yeah.
At that point. Because once it's at that point of toxicity, you're just damaging both of your lives for unnecessary amount of time. Your mind's going to get fucked with. Your conversations are more likely to be arguments than actually conversating.
Yeah.
Start to despise each other.
Yeah.
So for your own benefit, and if you need a reason, if you're thinking to yourself, look, I love this person so much still, then you need to know that if you do love that person so much, then you leaving them is best for yourself and for them. So it's not a
Yeah.
selfish regard. And a lot of people see self-love journeys as selfish as well.
Mm.
You know, self-love and selfishness are pretty similar. You know,
Yeah.
some people might call you selfish for working on yourself and sort of pushing people away or
Mm.
not going to events or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, you really do have to look after number one.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're no good, then you're no good to anyone else.
Yeah, definitely, bro. Yeah, definitely, bro. And that's one thing too, is like, especially within like the sort of younger generations, is I see like a lot of, these young kids jumping in and out of relationships and stuff like this. And after listening to what you've just said, it kind of makes me question, like, could that be a contribution to the fact why we have a lot of young people depressed, is because they're jumping around these relationships, giving pieces of themselves to all these different people. And now, there's 10 people walking around with different parts of you, and you're
Yeah,
feeling empty and lonely inside because, you weren't you weren't loving yourself enough to hold on to those parts of yourself that you so unforgivingly just gave away to everyone. And now you've found yourself in this rut, and you're trying to figure out why life's so hard and why everything's gone so crazy. And I think
yeah,
it just starts off with that self-love that you're talking about, bro. Like, if you love yourself enough, the right things will come towards you that
yeah.
need to.
Oh, definitely. The thing about a good relationship is that each of you support one another for your flaws and for your strengths as well.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be about coming together and going, "Well, I don't like this about you, so you need to change that," and vice versa.
Mm-mm.
And because a lot of these relationships that people get into, they don't know how to be on their own yet.
Yeah.
So they give themselves to this person, and then they share things with that person, and that person knows things about them that no one else
Mm.
does, and then it doesn't work out, and they leave, and then they find someone else, and they do it again, and they do it again,
Mm-mm.
do it again. Just as you said, you just you're given parts of yourself away, and then you're walking around wondering, what your purpose is, and that you
Mm.
feel like pieces of you are missing. It's because
Mm-mm.
they are.
Yeah.
So it then it becomes going back to the core and figuring out, what makes you tick, and
Yeah.
what is it about yourself that you do like, and
Yeah.
really focus. And even if it's just one thing, just really focus on
Mm-mm.
that, and it'll become other. I don't care if you like collecting glass turtles. You know what I mean? Like if you
Yeah.
really love collecting glass turtles, then you should put all of your energy into that and love those glass turtles.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's I think it's through loving what you love,
Yeah.
you really start to figure out who you are.
Mm.
And when you can fully be immersed in that purpose,
Yeah.
then you start to see the parts of you that you love as well, which
Yeah.
I would imagine would be, the excitement of loving glass turtles, and
Yeah.
how much care you put into glass turtles, and how
Yeah.
you talk about glass turtles with your friends, and you'll start to attract other people that are into glass turtles.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that when you can focus on something that you love, you'll start to attract everything else and everyone else
Mm.
that needs to be in that same frequency with you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people place too much importance on trying to find someone, and
Yeah,
then rather
bro.
in their life and doing what they want to do for them, and then that right person will come.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. I feel exactly the same, bro. I feel like that. We should be treating ourselves like a gem, bro. You look at people trying to find diamonds and stuff. They're trying to dig away at the surface, trying to find the gem, which ultimately, in a metaphorical sort of way, would be like your heart, kind of thing. So you have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
you have to
definitely.
make it hard for people to be able to get to your heart, just so you know that they're willing to put in that amount of work that's needed to get to your heart.
Yeah, the diamond in the rough. That's you don't just you don't just find diamonds. You,
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You gotta dig for them.
yeah,
So you can sort of in a way treat yourself as that diamond, and
yeah,
people can dig away at you, and you can then start to be a little bit more selective on
mm,
who you actually invite in.
yeah,
And yeah, I see it all the time with young people. They will go
mm,
from one person to the next pretty quickly,
yeah,
or they're even already talking to the next person.
yeah. Why there was, yeah,
Yeah, I had this conversation with a friend actually on monogamy, and I thought
yeah,
it was old fashioned, and it seems to me in this day and age with Gen Z anyway,
mm,
and even millennials, I think it almost is old fashioned. As I said before, I know plenty of people that are in relationships, but they already know who they're going to have next if it doesn't work out.
yeah,
So when you have that mentality, then whatever you're working on right now, it doesn't matter because you've already dismissed it
yeah,
by having the next. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Or the next person in line, or whatever it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
So that just already, you don't have any faith in what you're doing right now or who
It's
you're
kind
with
of
right now. So
half-hearted, eh?
it is, and I think a lot of people nowadays they don't want one person, they want multiple,
Mm,
and I think a lot of that comes down to they their own self worth. They don't know what they're worth, so they're trying to find it in 1,000 people.
yeah, yeah, and that's damaging, bro. That's damaging
Oh, totally.
for, like, just say you are one of those people who tend to jump around trying to find the right one, you know, but you got to think about it in a way where along the way, there's going to be either women or men who are going into these relationships with their whole heart,
Yeah,
sacrificing this, sacrificing that, just for this person to be already texting the next person because this person's, well, whoa, fuck, this dude's way too nice, He's fucking giving me everything, I don't want it that easy kind of thing. Well, I'm just going to go look for the next one kind of thing. But them not knowing how much damage they're actually causing to the second party of that relationship
yeah. Well, even
is,
themselves, because they're always gonna have that mentality now.
mm,
You know,
yeah,
well, not always. They can break it, but for the most part, that mentality is their mentality. So in
yeah,
any time they get into a relationship, they're always going to be thinking about what's next,
yeah,
what's next, what's next. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
they don't full wholeheartedly put all their energy into that person, and
mm,
that's why half of these relationships don't work out because it's one sided a lot of times,
yeah, yeah,
or
and
even in fact both parties are looking
yeah,
else
yeah,
at the same
bro,
time. So
yeah,
I've been, yeah, this year especially. I've really seen it a lot more.
mm,
Um, you know, and as I mentioned with some of the choices that I made, I was one of those people.
yeah,
And so I can definitely speak from experience when I say
yeah,
that you know in that state of mind I was what's next. And the unlucky thing about that is that I came to the realization that you know the person I did have was the right person, and unfortunately
yeah,
made too many wrong decisions.
yeah,
And I, I'm also fortunate enough that she's still one of my best friends. So
yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah,
even though I did her wrong and stuff like that, she saw in me what I didn't, and that
mm,
that's kind of what you want from a partner, no matter what damaging things you might do to yourself and to them. They're still going to be able to take themselves out of it enough to help you pull your head out of your ass, you know. And those are the people that you want in your life. And I'm very lucky that she is still part of my life. And it's also kind of a double-edged sword, really, because when you tell girls that you're dating or going on dates with, and they find out that your ex-girlfriend's your best friend, it's it's not it doesn't go down as well as you'd think. But yeah, for me, a lot of those experiences have led me to, be very open and and honest in how I'm feeling about a situation or about a person, or that kind of thing. I was pretty willy nilly with it in the past, and I wasn't totally I wasn't a great conversationalist. And when I say that, I mean I kept a lot to myself, and at the end of the day, that's what hurt me the most was keeping everything to myself and let it build, and then having it blow up in your face, because it will eventually catch up to you.
Oh, bro, it does, bro.
And if it does, welcome it, because for those of you that do listen and think that you might be going through that now, it's gonna happen, believe me. And when it does happen, welcome it in and accept it for what it is, and realize that this is your wake up call, because that's what it is. That's what it is. As I said earlier, I had to lose everything before I could really understand the lessons that were being taught to me. We need to change the definition of what it is to be a man. I wear this hat, bro. It says "Boys don't cry." But I did a post and I said, "Boys don't cry, but men do." And what that's meant to symbolize is that you're truly a man when you can turn around and say to your loved ones or people that you care about or whoever you confide in that you can let you down and actually be able to express what's going on inside. And it's a very boyish act to keep everything to yourself, or to be, when you're a kid and you'd say, "Oh, you're a pussy," or bitch, or it's a very schoolboy sort of
mentality
and use of language. Now me and my homies call each other just to say that we love each other. We're pretty happy to get on the horn every now and then and be like, just calling to just remind you I love you, bro. And just today, even my best friend, he's having a baby, and he lives on the Gold Coast, and I just messaged to say, thinking of you and Lani today, and hope baby comes out no problems. And his only response was, "Love you, my brother." These are the sorts of conversations that you should be able to have with your homies. And you'll know you're amongst the right people when you can say that to them. Sort of reception, because if you can't tell the ones closest to you how you feel, and how do you expect to feel anything for anyone else?
Definitely.
I was very of the mind of like, I obviously loved my friends and stuff like that, but I'd never tell them. I didn't even. I used to never even say it to my mum. You know what I mean? And it's only really in the last few years where I've actually, been this way. Where I've been not okay, when I've been happy to say, love you, or thank you, mum, or ask for help even,
Yeah.
look, I'm having a bad day, can you help me out,
Yeah,
and
bro.
a lot of my openness started with my mum. Actually, I started to open up to her a lot
Yeah.
and really have better conversations with her and tell her how I'd been feeling about any situation. Even told her about all the bad things I've done. Uh,
Mm.
what I did to the cheating on the ex, and
Yeah.
the drug use and the
Yeah.
alcohol abuse, and you know the fighting and the
Mm.
this and that. That just got to tell her everything, and it was a big relief um, when you realise that you know that unconditional love will win everything.
Yeah.
And as I've mentioned earlier, like I genuinely believe I have unconditional love from my homies as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, we're not blood, but the I guess the brotherhood that we have
Mm.
is much thicker.
Yeah. Yeah, bro.
I I genuinely couldn't do anything that had deterred them away from me.
Mm.
To the point, bro, where I was getting shit faced and hitting on their girlfriends and shit. We they were still able to be outside themselves enough to, obviously they separated themselves from me for a brief time, but then they
Yeah.
came back and we had conversations and they forgave me and realized what I was going through. In fact, they
Mm.
even apologized that they didn't realize that I was struggling sooner,
Yeah.
that I was behaving in a way that wasn't necessarily asking for help, but it was asking for help.
Yeah. It was out of
But
character.
I was doing it in the most obscene way possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So as I said, yeah, I think I'm very fortunate to have
Mm.
that unconditional love from even my friends, which was
Yeah.
a big savior for me. And I think because of that, I place a lot more importance on my relationships with them.
Yeah.
Um, and as I mentioned as well before, that I wasn't very good communicator, so I
Mm.
didn't I didn't do any check-in texts or
Yeah.
calls. I waited for them to contact me. You know what I
Mm.
mean. I
Yeah,
wasn't
bro.
the one to reach out. Now I make it a like a thing. I make it a thing of mine that I check in with the homies
Yeah.
a couple of times a week, or even if it's just a text to be like, have a good day, brother.
Yeah.
Just whatever it is, uh, I'm keeping those lines of communication both ways.
Mm. Yeah.
That was something that I needed to work on for them
Yeah.
and for me too, because yeah, if I truly lost them, I'd be beside myself. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, bro. Definitely. Bro, I feel so much similarities to what you've been talking about, bro, because like at the moment I'm going through a lot of the same shit as like I went for like when I was young I went for a long time where there was no contact with my old lady whatsoever for I think it was like 10 to 11 years when I moved
Oh,
away from Hastings when I was 7, moved up to Auckland with my old man. It wasn't until he got locked up 10, 11 years later where I actually made a reconnection with my old lady. But that was a few years ago now. But I'm in a similar situation where I'm starting to open up to my old lady and tell her stuff about my past, and now she's opening up and she's telling me about shit that's happened to her, and
yeah,
I just buzz out, bro, because listening to you I'm like, fuck, man, like I'm seeing like the same shit in my life at the moment. And even with my boys, bro, like I can honestly say, and I've said it in another podcast, that I put my boys over my family every day of the week because at the end of the day, it got to a point where I was at a young age and I had no family around, bro. I had no mother, had no fucking father, had no aunties, no uncles around, no cousins. I had no one, bro. And
yeah,
my homies were the ones who looked after me. Their parents took me in, they gave me a roof over my head and shit, and they really looked after me like I was their own. So without my boys and their parents, bro. I could probably honestly say that I wouldn't be here today doing this conversation if I didn't have them in my life. So I place them on the pedestal, bro. And one thing I need to work on a lot more is to just reach out to them a bit more. You know, I might talk to them like there's a couple that stay up north and here and there and stuff like that, and you know, it's just I feel like I need to sort of follow in your footsteps by reaching out to them a bit more and just letting them know that I fucking love them. Because even me, like me and my old man, like we never really talked too much because he was in a certain, you know, he was in the game, bro. He was fucking living his fucking, I don't know, his fucking Pablo Escobar lifestyle to say, you know, and being brought up by a man that's like that with the background that we were brought up in, you know, being like around heaps of mob and shit like that. You know, he grew up all around that shit, so he's quite a hard man and he doesn't really talk too openly. Like he can, but he didn't really talk too much. So ultimately I didn't learn how to open up and talk freely about my feelings, which now I see I'm not able to do that with my mates, you know, and like some of my mates have said, like, bro, I probably won't even watch your podcast, bro, because I don't want to fucking break down and start crying, you know, because they know that I get my hardness from my old man, that, you know, it would be fucking hard for them to hear that, you know, and I know that, that it's only because I don't open up. That's the reason why they don't want to watch it, is because, you know, ultimately they'll be the first time them hearing me talk about the mind state that I was in. And like I've said to a couple of them, is like, bro, we would have been having the best time of our lives, bro. And all I could think about was just fucking ending shit, you know. So I think that I need to take, I guess, some follows in your footsteps with reaching out to them a bit more and fucking just letting them know I love them and whatnot.
Definitely. It's for one thing that I definitely came to realize was when I started to open up, it allowed them to as well, you know. And that's the same amongst anyone, I think, and why I've sort of adopted this new way of engaging with people is that as I've said, I'm pretty open book now. I'll quite happily just say how it is or what I'm feeling or what I think, or not that I'm forcing opinions on people, but if someone asks me a question, I'll give them an honest answer. You know, to the point where if people ask me if I like them and I don't, I'll say I don't.
Yeah, bro. That's the way to be.
Yeah, and as much as, you know, some people don't like to hear that, but you respect that. And you know, I'm happy to shake that person's hand at the end of that conversation and say, you know, look, all the best.
Yeah.
We're not obviously vibing together, but I don't wish anything
bad upon them. Yeah.
And when you can have those open, honest conversations with anyone, enemies, friends, you know, lovers, whatever it is, the result at the end is always better because you're going to filter out who should be in your life and who shouldn't.
Yeah.
And that's the environment is a big part of what happens with your mindset. And
definitely.
So if you're surrounded by dickheads, you're going to be a dickhead as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, how it is. And it's like the saying, you know, if you want to be rich, hang out with rich people. If you want to be fit, hang out with people. You know, it's
you
the
are
same
your environment.
It's the same for mindset. You know, hang around with depressed people, you're probably going to be depressed. And what I found with my own group was that because I was such a down buzz, but didn't say that it was anything, you know, was going to threaten my life or anything like that. They just, instead of, you know, being like, oh, what, you know, what's wrong? Because they didn't know that something was wrong. They just thought I was a down buzz. You know, they just didn't hang out with me instead, you know. So if you're the one down buzz in the group, you're probably going to be the one that gets ditched.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you know, whereas if it's the other way around, if there's, you know, a bunch of positive people and
Yeah.
come into the group not really having a mindset yet, you're going to adopt that one for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, um, environment and surroundings,
Yeah.
and even to like what you watch, what you listen
Yeah,
to.
bro. Yeah.
It, it
Hard.
all it all has plays a factor,
Yeah.
and I actually had to go through my playlist and be like, oh shit, no wonder, because music for sure as well. Like that's on a frequency, right?
Yeah.
So if you listen to sad music, it's going to put you in a sad mental
Mm.
state.
Mm.
Well, I try to listen to quite happy songs now.
Yeah.
um, Reggae is a good one,
Yeah.
just uplifty sort of
Yeah.
feel good. That's
Yeah, bro.
really
My
what you.
playlist is
Yeah,
quite emotional, bro. Mine's all
yeah,
over the place, bro. Mine's, like go from like some motherfucker kill you to the mother to like some fucking
yeah.
Whitney Houston, and then it'll go back
Oh
down
yeah,
to like some killer shit, and then it'll go into like like Lewis Capaldi or some shit, and then
yeah.
it'll go
So
back into like 6ix9ine, and it's like
already
fucking
you're already listening to an emotional roller coaster, So
yeah, yeah,
imagine what it's doing to your brain.
yeah, yeah, bro. And that's
Because a lot
probably
of
why like
times
my
too,
thinking's like all over the place, bro.
yeah. Well, the words in your head, like when you hear those words in your head,
Mm,
voices, whatever. Um, the way I view the voice in my head is I view it as it's not me, right? I
yeah,
view it as that it's the something negative trying to tell me stuff. So if I don't identify that voice as myself, then I don't listen to it. That
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
And that was just sort of a tactic for me, really,
Mm,
because it sort of allowed me to separate what was being said in my head
yeah.
and how I felt about myself truly. You know what I
Mm,
mean? So yeah, that was sort of something that I sort of did, and
yeah,
instead, what was I would write my feelings in a book. So the words on the page were me, and the
yeah,
words in my head were not me.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So that's kind of how I was able to navigate, um, I guess, what my real feelings were and what my false feelings were.
yeah.
Sense.
Yeah, bro. And that's one sort of like common reoccurrence I've seen over the last couple episodes of the podcast, even including myself, bro, is that, the fact of writing it down. Like in some of my darkest moments, bro, like people would call them like rhymes or raps or whatever, but I'd do the same where in that moment I would just absolutely write everything down that I'm feeling right in that moment, and same with Kurt, bro, the one that you watched before, he started adopting the book and the pen as a tool to combat his anxiety or his depression or whatever by just writing it down and releasing it, which is
Oh
like a
yeah,
good way because like with a lot of
journaling's
people
great.
like maybe like me and you who know that we can't openly talk to people, or people who know, well, you're not like that anymore obviously because you've come a long way since then, but for people who are in that state of mind or in that position in their lives where they can't open up or feel like they can't talk to any family or friends, grab a book and a pen and just write it out, because writing it out onto that piece of paper is at least getting it out of your system for the
Yeah,
meantime.
that's right. Yeah, I found that it was if I wrote it down, then I wasn't constantly repeating it in my head.
Mm,
When you do repeat something over and over again, you're fixated on it. That's really where the manifesting starts to sort of take control
yeah.
and you know manifest things that you don't really want.
Um, but yeah, like even the whole manifesting thing, like I feel like there would probably be quite a lot of people, listeners out there who somewhat have an understanding of the whole manifesting side of stuff, but I think a lot of people think that manifesting is only for positive stuff, and what they don't realize is that manifesting is for negative stuff as well.
Yeah,
Manifesting
yeah.
ultimately at the end of the day is whatever you think of repeatedly is what is going to manifest. So like what you've been saying, if you've been thinking about heaps of bullshit and bad shit and only concentrating on all the negative shit in your life, well then it's only going to ever bring in more negative stuff into your life because that's all you're thinking about. But if you start thinking
Just
about the
this
positive
whole,
stuff, then you're away, bro. You're
well,
starting
yeah,
to bring
that's
in the
right.
positive stuff.
Like you've probably, this has probably happened to you as well. You've ever just had one of those days where you've just gone like, man, why do bad stuff keep happening to me?
Yeah,
And
fuck yeah.
then
Yeah, bro.
that bad thing happens, and you start going, why me? And then another thing happens, and you're like, it's always happening to me. You're
Mm,
just fixating on that thing that's happened, and then
yeah.
it sort of snowballs because something else will happen, and you'll fixate on that, and then again and again and again and
Mm,
again. All you're doing is just creating this chain of bad links,
yeah, yeah,
and you need to really, when you understand that you can actually break the link and
yeah.
start to, you know, like now when stuff happens, I go, well, you
Mm,
know,
mm,
something like when my car, for example, um, got broken into and wouldn't start and stuff like that. I actually laughed, and I was like, oh, what the hell, not again, kind of thing. And I was just kind of
yeah,
had a bit of a laugh and thought, and my first thought was, idiots didn't know how to do it.
yeah.
And had a bit of a laugh and stuff like that. And then I actually posted it on my Instagram story, and a few minutes later, a guy that I've only met once,
Yeah.
he messaged me and said, "Hey, bro, I've got a body shop and a glass shop and a tow company. If you
Oh
want me to
hell.
sort the car out for you, and I'll sort it out for you, and you can just start an account with us and pay it
Yeah.
however you want."
Fuck.
Um, it was and I sort of accredit that to one, having luckily having been a nice enough person in our first meeting
Yeah.
years ago, that he felt the need to be able to go, oh, look, Corey's a good guy, I'll
Yeah.
help him out,
Yeah.
and being conscious enough to see my car in the state that it was and not
Mm.
freak out and just sort of say, oh, have a laugh,
Yeah.
make a joke about it, and I think it's through those sort of series of events that led for me to be able to, one, get the car fixed in timely fashion, and two,
Yeah.
not have to fork out for it,
Yeah, bro.
right there and then, which, I can only imagine what it would have cost had
Oh,
had this man not come
yeah,
to the
bro.
savior. Little
Fuck
plug
yeah.
there, Bro Mark, Collision Connect. He's based in Cambridge and Huntley. Uh,
Yeah. That's
here
the
in
one,
here
bro.
in the mighty Waikato.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very fortunate.
Bro, because that,
Again,
that would have, that would have fucking cost heaps, bro, if you went to a normal shop, eh? Just
oh
the window
yeah,
itself probably would have been the same as what you've paid for the whole thing to be fucking fixed.
yeah. I think the window was gonna. It was, it's the little corner, those
Ah,
little clean
yeah.
ones. The
Yeah,
most
bro.
expensive bit of glass on the whole car. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
even
probably
though it's the smallest
hundred
little
bucks there.
fucking.
Yeah, and the barrel was gonna be somewhere between 1,500 or something like that. But
Yeah.
he charged me $1,100.
Fuck,
Like
that's the one, bro.
he saved me like $500, bro.
Hey, but everyone don't think that they're gonna get Corey's rates, you know? Corey's a good
Yeah,
guy, you
no,
know?
no,
Don't
I
think that
was
you can just rock up to Mark and just go, bro, Corey reckons you sussed him,
yeah,
so suss me
he
out, bro.
sussed me out. Yeah, and he may have sussed me out, but he also did it in one day. He picked it up yesterday, and it was fixed today. So,
Fucking hell.
um, yeah, no, I don't know if he prioritized my car or what, but
Yeah.
those guys over there, uh, good workers, and I got
Bit of a
very,
wizard, eh?
yeah, yeah, very lucky.
Yeah, bro. Because I've throughout the podcast, I've just heard you, constantly talk about, I guess, more like the spiritual side of things, bro. Like the whole frequencies and the whole manifesting of positive outcomes and stuff like that. What sort of made you get into, I guess, that sort of side of the mindset of things?
Um, I've sort of always had an interest. My mum is a medium
Oh yeah,
uh, as well, so growing up, being spiritual and learning about energies and frequencies, and that we're all on a, we're on basically a living organism
mm.
traveling around the sun. um, that also emits, powerful rays of energy.
Yeah,
Everything around us is energy. So,
mm.
growing up, that was always, I guess, being talked about in the household. So it didn't. It's the only thing that makes sense to me when I
Yeah,
think about, you know, um, what can happen in your life as in terms of how you feel, because feelings are just different forms of energy release. I think, and you know, there's a reason why being outdoors amongst oceans and trees and stuff, we
mm.
feel like of of freedom and sense of calmness and
Yeah,
things like that. It's nature is naturally on a frequency that's emits good energy,
mm.
so it only stands to reason that when you're in those environments, that's why you feel good,
Yeah,
and I know that a lot of people use places like beaches and hiking and things as ways to feel better about themselves,
yeah,
uh, and that sort of thing is, and as opposed to, like, let's say, if like, I used to get real eerie when my grandmother worked at the power station in Huntley, and when we were kids, she would take us there sometimes when she had to, get something or whatever, and I always had
yeah,
like an eerie there, and I guess it had something to do with being a power plant. you know, you're around electricity and stuff like that, and that
yeah,
can mess with your own frequency because everything's electrical.
yeah,
You know, and so I think about times like that, and even
mm.
when you go to maraes, or when you go to funerals, or you go to cemeteries and stuff, and
Mm,
you
mm.
feel the unease sort of energy sometimes, and
Yeah,
sometimes you feel really good energy, and it might be because you're someone that you love is buried there, and that's why you feel
yeah,
there, and stuff like that. Or I always, personally myself, I always felt uncomfortable in mid-eyes, even
yeah,
as a kid. So the moment I was old enough to stop going, I stopped going.
yeah, yeah,
um, and that might have had something to do with the fact that it might not have been my marae, or
mm.
just the hundreds of years of I guess Maori warfare that could probably potentially
Yeah,
have, you know and being amongst sort of those energies was always, I, I think I was always very sensitive to energy growing up.
yeah,
So um, it's even now still, I know if I'm in an environment I don't want to be in,
yeah,
uh, or I sort of gauge people pretty well. Um, it wasn't until I guess I was knocked off my own frequency that I
mm.
stopped starting to recognize when I was in a bad situation,
Yeah,
uh, and stuff like that. So yeah, I, I I credit a lot of it to my mum. you know, she's the my dad used to call her a witch, so we we used to think that was a bit of a laugh. So
yeah,
yeah, I think because of her, and because of how she made it feel so normal to speak about
mm,
energies,
mm.
free spirits, whatever you want to
Yeah,
call it. It was always very normal for me to talk about, and that's how I understood things. So that's how I explained it.
Mm.
It didn't actually occur to me that that wasn't normal.
Yeah, yeah.
Until people started to be like, "Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more." And then I started to think, "What do you mean? Tell you more? Don't you know this stuff?" You know.
Yeah,
And then I'm a very curious person, so I started to, I guess, learn about um, religions and the universe and
yeah.
science and
Mm,
really anything that was considered supernatural
mm.
or whatnot, just to pretty much try to see it from everyone's perspective so I can better engage with all types of people. At
Mm.
the end of the day, majority of these religions and belief systems and whatnot, they all want to achieve the same thing in the end, and that's
Yeah,
be nice to people and um and love yourself really.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And if you don't love yourself, then um you place your I guess you can place your faith into somebody else to love you instead, and that's what essentially that's what everything comes down to.
mm,
Um, with a lot of these belief systems, is that they want to believe that there's something that can love them if they don't love them.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? And for me, the universe and manifesting is just basically the same as asking God for something. You know,
mm,
if you ask God for something, you're manifesting to the universe that you want that thing.
mm, yeah,
So for me, it's all the same, and it's a global language. We
yeah,
just
yeah.
all have different names for
The
what
same
it is
thing.
we're yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, bro. Because I feel like there's actually quite like a big disconnection with so many people and their spirituality, bro. And I feel like a lot of the reason why people walk around with broken souls, bro, is because they're disconnected from their spirit, and their spirituality, which creates just the tiniest gap, but that gap's big enough to make you feel broken and lonely
Yeah,
and like you're not belonging or like you're lost and stuff like that.
I think
And
something.
for myself, bro, like I had to start doing a bit of research into religion and stuff like that because my old lady, she's hard out into her church and stuff, and she sort of projects it on the old mokos and stuff like that. But for myself, I found that I just felt real disconnected, so I started searching like history and religions and just like I started getting into the laws of the universe as well, just the whole attraction and stuff like that. I haven't got through it yet, but I'm just working my way through the seven laws, or I think it's seven laws of the universe.
Yeah, bro.
and
Yeah,
um and I think for myself it sort of started making me I guess like it started making me feel a bit more together because in that research I was finding that some of the reason why I was feeling the way I was feeling is because I was just so disconnected, bro. And it's good to hear someone like you who openly talks about that spiritual connection and making sure you're at a certain frequency and just being aware of the frequencies in your environment or the frequencies that you surround yourself with, because ultimately people's spirits feel other people's spirits, and if you're immersed yourself into all these negative spirits and all these negative frequencies, you can't expect to feel any good about yourself or feel any type of way of self-love, because ultimately you're just in a frequency or in a negative space where you shouldn't be. So I think a lot of people could probably take away just if you're feeling in that sort of situation where you're a bit lost or you're a bit disconnected to, maybe just start. I wouldn't say dive head first, just take little steps into doing a bit of research about, just about culture, about religion, about our history, because in order to know where you are or where you're going to be, you need to find out where the fuck you came from.
Yeah, yeah,
You need to go all the way back to the start to try and figure out, you know, what they've done along the way that you can learn from. It's like learning from other people's mistakes so you don't ultimately do the same, but make the same mistakes.
that's right. I think all the mistakes have been made in the world already.
Mm,
And yeah, as much as we do have history to look back on and say, okay, look, that was the wrong thing to do.
mm, mm.
This was the effect of that wrong thing. This is what you should do. Blah blah
Yeah,
blah. You can say the words to people sometimes, but until they do it themselves or feel it themselves, they don't truly understand. And I think
yeah.
that's why so many of us do go through things, is
Mm,
so that we have that understanding. It might just take a couple of words from someone else for you to realize that, oh shit, I actually went through that because I needed to know what that felt like so that
mm,
I could be a better person for the next job or next
mm.
partner or my next you know endeavor in my life and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's I was talking to a friend of mine earlier actually um, about this very thing, mental health in general, and how everyone's journey is definitely different, and
Mm,
no one can ever really know how you feel because we're not you're not me and I'm not you.
yeah.
But I think the important thing is to be open about everything that you are doing, feeling, want to do, and when you're open and honest about those things, then along that journey of being yourself and being your most pure, honest
Mm,
you're going to go through this up and down wave of losing people and finding people and losing people and finding people. Being in situations you don't want to be in,
mm,
being in
mm,
situations you don't want to be in, up down until you get to the medium, and then everything
mm.
will. The as I said, the key right there is to just stay the most open and honest you that you can be, even through the shit,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
eventually it's gonna pay off, and eventually you will find your, utopia,
Mm,
so to
mm.
speak. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, bro. And you bring up some good points about just the fact that just the feeling of people just being so lost and stuff all the time, like, and the fact that people think that what's happening isn't for a reason. It's more of like a question, like, fuck, why does this keep on happening? Where, like I said in Kurt's thing, it was, they should be asking, like, why is this happening? Like,
it's
is
not
there a
happening.
reason
It's
behind
not
it
happening to you. It's happening for
for
you.
you? Yeah, yeah,
That's that's the. You just need to change the language that you
yeah.
speak to yourself.
The
That's
interpretation too.
the big key around a lot of it. I think is exactly what you said. Interpretation. And what I'm finding is most people immediately go to the worst scenario possible. You
Mm,
know, there could be so many outcomes to any situation. You just need to be, I guess, brave enough to explore what is good out of a bad situation.
yeah,
You know, breakups don't always have to be bad.
yeah.
You know, breakups can be very enlightening and
Mm,
really quite positive for both parties, as
yeah,
we've mentioned.
yeah.
And you know, even if both parties don't see it, eventually they will.
Yeah.
And that's. I remember when I was a kid, man, and my first girlfriend, when we split up, I was a mess. I thought it was the end of the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
and I probably thought that for the next 4 or 5 girlfriends. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
and and I probably split up with the most meaningful one. Now, but even then, like I said, like that ended quite positively. We literally high fived after it. We literally said to, I think we've probably run our course, and it seems to me we're better friends than we are a couple. So
Yeah.
maybe save each other some time and pull the pin and we both agreed, came to that conclusion. Sort of had a bit of a laugh, high fived, bro.
Yeah.
We went off, got changed, got on the
Yeah.
bus. Friends are a bit shook, but
Yeah.
we, as I say, we all still hang out together,
Yeah.
and she's got a new partner now, and um, we talk about that,
Yeah.
and so I'm a true believer that no matter the situation, there is a good thing to come out of any of it, and
Yeah.
it might be in the form of figuring out something about yourself and what
Mm.
you like, in a
Mm.
person.
Mm.
It might be that you're now more mentally resilient,
Yeah.
be that maybe that person um, helped you find a better dress sense. There's so many things that you can take away
Yeah.
from anything that you might. And society tells us that breaking up and things like that is always
Mm.
a bad thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So we're all sort of molded to believe a certain way because the the masses believe that that's the thing, and
Mm.
I like to go ahead and sort of place myself as one of the what I like to call 1%ers. Um, sort of choose to view the world and situations and things like that a little differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it would be nice that the uh, minority can become the majority
Yeah.
in terms
Yeah.
of positive thinking one day,
Yeah.
and this is just I think this what you're doing is just another contribution to that hopeful resolution for us all.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. And then like that's the thing about this podcast, Obviously in the name it's positive past, it's taking your past and turning it into a positive because
Yeah,
like you're
which
just
by the
being
way, I really like that name. Actually, when I
yeah.
read it, I thought to myself, man, that's a great way to see it
Yeah.
because it really is as bad as your past can be. You can make it. You can take a lot of positives away from everything bad that's ever happened to you in your whole life. And
Yeah.
yeah, that the title of your podcast really uh, sort of highlighted itself to me in
Mm.
that way. I never I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
You know, that those two words together
Mm. Mm.
is not two words that I would have put together myself, and
Yeah.
to see them together was that in itself, enlightening. I think so.
Mm.
I think well done on that one for sure.
Yeah. Cheers, bro. Yeah, well, like I wanted people to like you just noticed is that I wanted the name to stand out um on a I guess on a different scale compared to a lot of things. Like you said, like those two words usually don't go together.
No,
Positive and past, bro. And I was just thinking to myself, like, what have I done for myself throughout my past that I feel like I'd be able to implement into this podcast the most. And I sat there for a bit and I thought about it and I said,
Still got one bad habit still. Sorry.
yeah. Oh, bro, we all got some sort of habit though, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Bro, and it was just, like ultimately just trying to turn or make people understand, like what you've been saying is that a lot of the stuff that happens in our past molds us into who we are today. Without your past, who do you think you're going to be today? Because you have to go through that shit. And that's what this podcast is about, is to allow people to understand that there is so much positives in our past. There's so much silver linings into the bullshit. We just got to take a second, step back, and just look at the situation as a whole. Because a lot of us, like I've said earlier, is just we get caught up in the moment. Of the fucking why is this happening? Why is that happening? Instead of just taking a step back for 1 second, giving yourself time to breathe, and then
Yeah.
reevaluating the situation that you're in.
You can take that mentality within conversations as well. Don't react to a conversation. You want to listen and then respond, and it's the same as with when you're thinking back on your past. As you said, you want to step back, have a look at it, do some calculations in your mind, and then talk about it, rather than the amount of people I've talked to that have gone, in the past I did this and that. I very rarely hear people tell me about good times they've had in the past, and there's been people who've had them, but we all fixate on the bad shit. We all fixate on, you remember the bad and you forget the good. We don't celebrate small wins enough, and that's a real defining difference as well in your mentality. Is when you do something that for you that you're really proud of, you should be proud of it and say it and tell people and tell yourself and celebrate that thing, because what we do is something bad will happen and we'll just sit on it for days, months, years.
Bro, just dwell,
and it's just damaging to your whole body and your whole mindset and your relationship and your work ethic and everything. It affects it all, and the celebrations affect it all as well, but at a much higher frequency. That's where you should sit. That's where you should. That's what you should think about most. When I remember my dad, for example, he wasn't perfect, but I don't remember any of that stuff. I only remember the good stuff. I don't remember the twacks behind the head. Like I don't fixate on those things. I don't fixate on the yelling that happened. Obviously I remember them because I'm telling you, but I'm remembering them now because I'm looking for them so that I can tell you. For the most part, if my picture of my dad was to pop up, I'll think about all the times that he, taught me how to ride a bike, or taught me how to throw a softball, or taught me how to drive a car, or gave me my first beer. Those are the things that I think about, and that's how you should treat your past sometimes. I think, when instead of looking back and immediately going to some of the worst points of your life, you should go back and remember the really good points. Me and my friends always when we're together talk about all the great times we've had growing up together, and all the we've repeated the same stories over and over and over again to each other, to us, and that's what sort of keeps, I guess, the love we have in our friendships alive, is because we do often celebrate the greatest times of our lives, together. We'll continue to do that, I think, for a long time.
And people need to understand, like what you're saying about the small things, is that all the small dubs, bro, all the small wins over time, like they become something massive, bro. You know, and like it doesn't matter how small the the piece of material that you're putting into a jar. Over time, bro, that jar's gonna eventually fill up. You know, but
Smallest
and
details, bro, that are by far the most important.
yeah,
I think, because they're forgotten usually.
mm,
So remember those small details of your life, and I think you'll find that you will start to change your future
yeah.
a lot in the direction that you want it to go.
Yeah. And so much of us hate our past, bro. So much of us hate our past and hate the things that we done as a kid and hate the things that we've done to partners, done to parents, done to family, done to this, done to that. We all hate it so much, but we need to understand that we have to love our past because it's made us who we are. We have to fall in love with all that bullshit that we went through, all the bullshit that we done, because if that shit didn't happen, we would be in a completely different space to where we are right now. Like if you didn't, maybe when you did the transition and started going through your rough patch and got onto the drugs and stuff, if you didn't go through that, maybe me and you might not be sitting here talking right now.
Oh,
So it's
definitely.
just people need to understand that they need to fall in love with their past because it's their past that makes them who they are today, bro.
That's right. If I was to delete my past today, you know, I wouldn't know who I am anymore.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? The past is important, but I think what people do is they you know they re, they think the function of memory is to um, remember the past and and I guess fixate on it and think about
mm,
what could have been, when actually the function of memory is to take from the past to better structure the future, you know.
mm, yeah,
And yeah, that's been a real difference for me, I think, and how I viewed, you know, my transgressions, so to speak,
yeah,
or, my my misfortunes, my um, questionable life choices.
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, those I had to do all of that so that I could take from that
yeah,
and now be better informed on how to structure my future.
yeah. Right. So I heard you talk about society a little bit just before, and sort of one question in my mind that popped up was do you think that I guess there's social pressures that contribute to the fact why New Zealand has such a high suicide rate, or do you think it's more just sort of people in themselves and not being able to deal with stuff, or do you think that there's external forces from society and stuff like that that contributes to our suicide rates and stuff like that?
Yeah, 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 definitely. I think, and it's better now, obviously, but I guess when I was growing up, society does tell us that, as we spoke about earlier, being a
Mm,
man is keeping everything to yourself and being strong
mm,
for your family and that kind of thing. And I think it's those old belief systems and pressures that we grew up with is a big part of why our suicide rate is so high, and particularly in that age group of 15 to 17,
yeah,
even less. Um, they I think society tells us that we're not good enough
mm,
very early.
yeah,
Maybe not in so many words, but in what they expect from you in schools, um,
mm,
your role is as a family member,
yeah,
what your role is dependent on. which gender you fall under.
Mm.
There's all the you're told that there's, in a way, you're sort of given rules for what a man should be and what a woman should be and where you fit in the world in
Yeah.
terms of, what kind of job roles that you should pursue, what kind of social roles you
Mm.
into, and it's because of the way it was structured, particularly then, that has a huge contribution on why we grow up wondering why we're not good enough, especially if you don't see yourself falling under any of those banners that you're
Yeah.
told.
Yeah.
And this is where I think, you know, like transgender people and gay people,
Yeah.
lesbian, LGBT in general, that community have a number of people that suffer from depression, anxiety, and suicides as well,
Yeah.
because fall under what they were told to fall under when they were
Mm.
growing up. Fortunately, now it's much more accepted. So
Yeah.
that's a great thing as well. But people that don't fall under that community as well, they still don't fall under some of the areas that
Mm.
you're told that you belong. So when you
Yeah.
don't, you start to question if you're good enough. And I think it's in that questioning that people start to think that, well, I don't belong anywhere, so I
Mm.
may I may as well not be here anymore.
Yeah.
And I definitely, for myself, I definitely uh, didn't feel that I belonged to a particular group of people. And I used to talk about this a lot. I'm I've always been the friend in the group that, I guess in a way I was looked up to a lot, but and I introduced different groups of friends with other groups of friends, and then they
Yeah.
became friends, and
Yeah.
everyone, they all had like a best friend in the group and things like that.
Yeah.
And I wasn't necessarily someone's best friend,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I fell under the best friends banner,
Yeah.
but I wasn't. I was never like
The
the go whatever.
mm.
And it's sort of, for me, that was a big part of where I started to kind of crumble a little bit,
Yeah.
and think to myself, yeah, I'm everyone's best friend, but I'm not
Yeah.
the best friend, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I really struggled with that for a long time, and it wasn't really until it was pointed out to me that I was the I was the bringer of people,
Mm.
you know, and
Yeah.
when I did finally open up and express these feelings to my friend group,
Yeah.
they all said to me like, "Well, like you," in a sense, they placed me as like the leader,
Yeah.
in terms of like, if we were to speak about hierarchies or
Yeah.
something within a friend group, like I was kind of, that they sort of viewed me as the, I
Top
guess, the
tier.
leader, or the captain of the group, and
Yeah.
they would come to me when they needed, serious things answered, or
Yeah.
if they needed opinions, or if they needed a definite answer, or on
Mm.
something, or, whatever the case may be, or I was told that, and I didn't realize this for a long time, that I was the one that introduced everyone to everyone,
Mm. You're the middleman.
grouped all these people together and stuff like that. So, um, I think once I got that explanation,
Yeah.
I was, you know, more comfortable in my role,
Yeah.
um, in our group of friends.
Mm.
And, they sort of view me as the, as almost a bit of a prophet. um, you know what I mean? In,
Yeah.
in terms of, when anyone's struggling with something mentally, or relationship wise, or I'm always the go-to person because I've done it all.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
And it was in that understanding that I really understood what my place was
yeah,
and
yeah,
what category, or what, which tier I sort of fell into,
yeah,
and gave me that sense of purpose.
mm,
Um, and then so any issues that I had now with not belonging was now gone because I knew where I belong.
yeah,
And that that is at the core of a lot of people's depression and a lot of their, I guess, self worth and wondering, where it is that they fall under. And when you are open enough and brave enough to be able to ask or say, look, where do I,
yeah,
what do you see me as, or
yeah,
where do I belong? You'll be able to find, what where that is, and there's a
mm,
place for us all. We just get a bit lost and a bit caught up in what everyone else is doing, and
yeah,
we don't take enough care of ourselves and ask more questions for ourselves.
yeah, yeah,
And a lot of that's to do with people don't want to be seen as selfish,
mm,
and that's where the misconstrued comes in of, is it being selfish, or is it finding your self-love?
yeah,
And I think it's a very um, thin line between both words, and
yeah,
it's just another one of those, just I guess another interpretation of what the words mean to you.
yeah,
So if you were to say, you know oh, it's selfish of me to ask, then it probably is selfish. But if you were to say, I need to know because I'm trying to love myself,
yeah,
you're changing the energy of that question and the frequency that it's on.
yeah,
You know, being selfish is considered a bad thing, but self love is a positive thing.
mm,
You break them both down, they're the same thing.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
it's just
yeah,
about believing which one is which.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, bro. Nah, you brought up some fucking good points in that, bro, because, like one of the things that I picked up was that, like often, a lot of the time, a lot of us get stuck with all these questions in our head. Where do we belong? What should I be doing? Why does this person not gravitate towards me? Or why is this person no longer in my life? And we're sitting there asking ourselves all these questions, but the thing that we need to understand is that we are not able to answer these questions unless we ask the questions. And I don't mean ask the questions to yourself, but ask your questions to the people that you need the answers from. And one thing that comes into my head straight away is that when I had that distance from my mother for a long time, is that I was stuck in my head asking myself these questions like, did she love me? Why she never reached out? Why have I never got a phone call? Why have I never got a card? Or, all these questions that I was asking, it was just eating me up because
Yeah.
I
And
wasn't able to answer them.
you were probably asking everyone else except your mom.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. And like that's the
the,
thing is
the
like
only
it
person
came
that could have
down.
given you the answers.
Yeah, bro. And that's what I found out down the track is that, once I reconnected with my old lady and a few years had gone past and we had broken down a couple of these barriers, I just hit her with it, bro. And I was just like, fuck. Like, did you ever come looking for me, mum?
Yeah.
Did you ever fucking. And bro, she lost it, She fucking started bawling out, you fucking bastard. How fucking dare you think that I never loved you, Shit like this. And I didn't know because for the 10 years I was just eating myself away asking these questions. But in that moment, bro, like everything just lifted off my shoulders. All that pain, all that hurt, all those unanswered questions, bro, were answered in the first, fuck you, you bastard,
Because
because.
you need to, I think what we need to do as individuals when we do have questions like that is we need to take responsibility as well a little bit.
Mm,
And I think you probably realised that you needed to take responsibility in the terms of you never asked her, so
Yeah.
you never got the answers.
Yeah.
You know, you probably just placed all the blame on her and
Mm.
didn't even consider that you could have reached out probably sooner than you did,
Yeah.
and and obviously it takes time for us to realize
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
things, and in your case it took 10, 11 years, and
Yeah.
that's the time you needed.
Mm.
So
Mm.
you know you can you can look at it as I wasted 10 years, but you can
Yeah.
also look at it as I needed 10 years to
Yeah.
understand,
Yeah.
and that's another thing as well, that you can't beat yourself up for the amount of time it takes you to
Mm.
understand,
Yeah.
because we all learn at our own rate, and we
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
give at our own rate as well.
Yeah.
And another thing about that too is with forgiveness, even, is
Mm.
that forgiving someone else is usually very hard for us because we can't even forgive ourselves a lot
Mm.
of times. So if you can't forgive yourself, then you're even less likely to forgive somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean when I say we need to take responsibility in part as well, and see the situation for what it is and understand it, and then say, okay, I forgive myself for taking so long,
Yeah.
and now I also forgive, you know, my
Mm.
mum for not being given the chance to
Yeah.
tell her side as well, and that's where communication is key, and
Mm.
and everything that we do, communication with ourselves and communication with the people that we want answers from, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And you're not always going to get answers from people sometimes,
Mm.
and that needs to be okay too. You then need to just be brave enough to say, look, I was brave enough to ask the question.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they didn't answer it, and I didn't get the answer that I wanted. And them not answering should be enough of a reason for you to say, look, I
Stop.
don't need to waste my energy on this person anymore.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of a release in itself.
Mm. Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. And I guess just holding expectations of outcomes of certain situations, like, bro, expectation will kill all dreams, bro. So if you're going into something and you're expecting a person to be a certain way or to say a certain thing, and then they don't, that's gonna fuck you up inside. So like my thing was that I had to go in there with no expectations of what was going to be said, because it makes it easier to digest it and understand it if you go in with no expectations, because ultimately if you are in a bad headspace, you have a chance to ultimately get out of this headspace, and you have an expectation and then it's not met, it's just going to make your headspace go even further down, kind of thing. So there's kind of, yeah, good perspective of sort of understanding that we can't like sort of control the things that go on, but we can control how we approach a certain situation, or how we react to the answer from that certain situation as well.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
bro. What's your sort of thoughts on because obviously we have quite like a high suicide rate in Māori and Pacific Islanders, bro. I want to sort of know what your thoughts are to the contributions to why our island boys and Māori boys are, I guess, sitting at a higher tier compared to the rest of them.
I think a lot of it. I think a lot of it has to do with not remembering where we came from. I think we're us as Pacific Islanders and Maori. We're living in a world now that's, if our ancestors were here, it would be unnatural.
Yeah, yeah,
I think we're almost born into a frequency that's not our own,
Yeah.
and culturally, the way we've been placed in society hasn't allowed a lot of Maori in Pacific Island to be
Mm.
Maori in Ireland,
Yeah.
So I think that falls on the whole thing that we were talking about earlier, that we automatically don't fall under a category that society wants us to be in.
Yeah.
That at the end of the, and I hate to say it, but at the end of the day, we do live in a white world,
Yeah.
and a white, I guess, way of thinking,
Yeah.
and
Whitewashed, bro.
that's not our way of living.
Yeah.
And our way of living is to be one with nature, and to be with family, and
Mm.
to we've kind of got no honor anymore,
Yeah.
you know. And for a lot of the areas of New Zealand that are low docile,
Yeah.
rather, they just don't have the opportunities, and they don't have the, I guess, utilities and um, services and things like that for us to really excel.
Mm.
And it becomes a bit of a what's the word? It becomes a bit of a snowball effect, really, or a just a round and circle sort of way of living.
Like a cycle, eh? Vicious
Yeah,
cycle, bro.
it's a cycle where they stay in these low financial societies. So they have low financial society mentality. They don't
Mm.
have education that they probably need. They don't
Mm.
have the influences that they need. They then become the parents, and then their kids just behave the exact same way they did, and then they
Yeah.
become parents, and they
Yeah.
stay in this loop
Generational cycle, eh?
generational cycle of a mentality where they either turn to crime, or they turn
Mm.
to um, yeah. I think a lot of it is just uneducated as well.
Yeah.
As much as I don't like to say it, but us as a people, percentage wise, there's not many of us that really excel in a
Yeah.
education environment.
Yeah.
And the ones that do get celebrated, but then we forget about the ones that don't,
Mm.
and we almost get whitewashed in a sense as well.
Yeah.
And we start to, from experience when I was growing up, I didn't even like to identify as Maori, because I didn't like the stereotypes, and I didn't like
Yeah.
the way we were looked at, or
Mm.
treated, or talked about. You often heard the phrase "dumb Maori,"
Yeah.
um, that islanders as thick as a brick, or
Mm.
things like that. And
Yeah.
I mean, we don't help ourselves a lot of times as well, but at the same time, no one's helping us to break that cycle as well. No one's giving them enough opportunity to be able to excel in other areas of life. We're
Yeah.
a hand sort of a people,
Mm. Mm.
and all the Maori and Pacific Islanders that I know are extremely clever,
Yeah.
but they're not educated enough to be able to put themselves in a situation or environment where they can use that cleverness or that creativeness to their advantage.
Yeah.
You always hear like all Maori can sing,
Mm. Mm.
all Maori can play sport, or
Yeah.
dance, or draw, or we're a
Yeah.
creative people,
Yeah.
uh, but we don't get enough opportunity in those areas to be able to break the cycle, and
Yeah.
I think that probably has a lot to do with the suicide rate levels and just not really fully belonging to something.
Yeah. Bro, the reason why I bring that up is because I feel exactly the same, bro. I feel like the reason why we have such a high rate in the Polynesian and Māori community, bro, is because we are so disconnected from our culture, bro. And I was saying this at work, like, bro, don't get me wrong. I love fucking white people, bro. I've got heaps of white
Oh,
friends, you know. I've got
all my
fucking, you know, I love white girls,
straight up,
bro. You know,
straight up.
I'm not really like a moldy girl type of guy kind of thing. I love white people, bro. But like I was saying at work, is like, bro, white motherfuckers, they just fucked everything up, bro. They fucked a lot of motherfucking shit up, bro. And
Yeah,
like, you know, even the white dudes at work, they're like, yeah, yeah, no, we've, you know. And I'm like, at the same time, like, it's not like they fucked it up in a bad way, because look at what the world is right now, you know. Look at the technology. Look at our houses, you know. We're out of fucking mud huts, and you know, like, obviously there's so much good that's come out of them as well. But I was just saying at work, I was like, man, you motherfucking white fellas, bro, you guys have fucked us up, bro. Now look
yeah,
at us, you know, like, we're all so disconnected from our culture. We're all so whitewashed, bro, that, you know, obviously we are going to feel lost, because like you were saying, we're people of the land, bro. We're meant to be, you know, connected, not in just like a family environment, but you know, in a natural environment. And same with the pollies as well, you know, because you know, they're islanders, they live off the land, and you know, they're probably feeling the same disconnected feeling from the culture that we feel, you know, as Maldives.
yeah,
And
for sure.
and
We're a warrior race, bro, and there's no warriors left. You know?
yeah, bro, and then that's what I was saying at work, was like, you know, like, us people, we're descendants of warriors, you know. We're descendants of these hard fucking people who protected, looked after their families, and lived off the land. And now you look at us, bro, you know. Look at the things we do, look at the lives we live, you know. The thing that fucks me up the most is that we as Maldives have allowed it to get to this point, you know, whether we like to believe it or not. Even though there's been a lot of influence on us, you know, we're the ones who have ultimately rolled over and accepted this whitewashed lifestyle that we live. And I feel like for Maldives and Pacific Islanders especially, that we could probably, you know, start looking back into reconnecting with our cultures, and you know, just picking up little cultural practices that we can implement into our day-to-day lives, to see if that's going to benefit us in the long run. Because the way that we're going at the moment, and how Maldives are living at the moment, is just not a good way of living. And like you said, you know, there's that stereotype of, you know, Maldives, like, oh, fucking look at that hoary Maldi, fucking hell, you know, I wouldn't want to be like. And like you said, like, when I was younger, bro, I hated being like, you know, connected to the Maldi race, because ultimately everyone's like, oh, fucking Maldi, oh, fucking hoary
Yeah,
dude, they're
yeah,
gonna come steal my car, or gonna break into my house, kind of shit, you know. And us as people, you know, when we're being exposed to these thoughts of what people think of us, you know, obviously we're going to start actually believing some of this shit. And I feel like along the way, we have started believing it, that we are fucking whores, and that we are, you know, this, and that we're fucking criminals, and that we're like this. And when I look at like the Māori race now, you know, we are a lot of those things now, because we've just
fully.
rolled over, and we've just accepted the fact that people have told us that we're this for so long, that we have become that. But in my
We've
head, I'm like,
fallen to that role. You know, as
yeah,
we, it's just it all goes back to, you know, we're trying to find a place where we belong.
mm,
So, you know, a lot of our youth and a lot of our people that do belong to the parts of the sort of lower parts of society, that's the role they've been given. So
yeah,
they've sort of embraced that role, and
mm,
they take the attributes of what that role
yeah,
um, provides. And so, yeah, it is it is disheartening. Um,
mm,
I do see young Māori on the street, and wearing colours or getting or mm, I've had the odd of conversation with guys here and there that are from those parts of society and
yeah,
try to drop a couple of little wisdom nuggets on them
yeah,
and hope that it sinks in. But I mean, the reality is that they're going to go back to the environment that
yeah, bro.
gives them, I guess, the power to stay in that lane.
Yeah.
Unless I'm fully immersed in
Mm.
realm, there's not really much that we can do, and that's that definitely hurts my feelings a
Yeah,
little.
definitely, bro. I feel the same pains that you do, bro. Like, even when I go back home and, like, all my fucking cousins and, my little brothers fucking all patched up and shit. And I'm just like, like, I'd sit there with them and I'm like, fuck, you guys don't have to live like this, man. You guys choose to wear that patch on your back. You guys are
Oh,
choosing to, conform into these lifestyles. You guys don't have to live like this. It's just you feel like you need to because everyone else is, and it's just trying to break that mental state of just, you know, giving in so easily, bro. Like, one thing for me is like, bro, we're descendants of warriors, bro. We should fucking be holding our word and our beliefs and I guess our forefathers, bro, right to our chest and standing up against everything and going, nah, we are loving, caring people. We aren't fucking hories. We aren't criminals. We are people of the land. We are fucking natural, resourceful kind of people. We have high morals, high standards. But it's just like you've said, it's just one of those environmentally things where a lot of them just can't stand up in amongst the crowd and just go, I'm sick of this. It's just
the
like
gang
they'd
life,
rather just give into it and be like, oh, well, bro, well, you've got one. Fuck, my turn, I guess.
gang life, and has always been really intriguing to me in the sense that it's clear to me that they're looking for somewhere to belong a lot of times, and
Mm,
gangs can be comforting in that sense. But I know that a lot of them when they started, it was them, yeah, not being a non-conformist,
yeah,
and it was um, this was their interpretation of what a warrior is,
yeah,
and unfortunately, it's led the rest of society to outcast them,
yeah, yeah,
and it's in that outcasting they've had to, I guess, adapt and try to find ways to, I guess, monetize it in the form
mm,
of crime and things. I do think that there's some good aspects to it, especially now.
yeah,
You're seeing a lot of these gangs, um, try to get their crew off drugs and
yeah,
alcohol
yeah, yeah,
into more positive outlets and stuff like that. But
yeah,
and that's another thing is that you have to be inside that world
mm,
to make that difference. And
yeah,
I guess we would probably never understand why they stick to that because
mm,
for the
mm,
most we've found our place in the world
yeah,
and they've found their place and it's just they're not viewed as
mm,
as kind people, but
yeah,
you're definitely seeing a shift in a lot of what they are trying to achieve. But
yeah.
we're
Okay, bro. And like, yeah, like one thing I'd say to my cousins and like my little brother and shit is like, you know, I don't fucking care if you pick the patch or not, but you need to understand what comes with it. At the end of the day, you're just gonna be my little cousin when I look at you, or you're gonna be my little brother, you know? People to other people, they're gonna be like, fuck, look at that fucking out of a cunt, fucking thinking
yeah,
he's all the man with his patch on and shit. Where I'd look at that same person, I'd just go, oh, bro, that's just my cousin. What are you on about? Or that's just my uncle. What are you talking about? And it's just trying to, yeah, I fully get what you mean about, just people outsourcing for belonging, I guess. Because, yeah, it's definitely a big thing, especially through the Māori culture and stuff like that, eh? It's just,
Yeah, well,
we're
I
all
think
trying to
just
find somewhere to belong, bro.
as a human race, we are really just looking for somewhere to belong.
Mm,
I think it's with anyone.
yeah,
Um, we want somewhere to be our own,
yeah,
and and that's at the core of all of us.
yeah,
And so when we talk about suicide and when we think about the struggles that people have, a, a lot of it is to do with a sense of non-belongingness, I guess.
mm.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think for us to be able to make more of the differences is to what we're doing, allowing people to be able to openly share with us
mm.
what it is that's making them feel like they don't belong anywhere, and then trying to help them find the place that they do belong.
Yeah,
And it'll be in that work there that we are able to cure
yeah,
a lot of souls. Because when we talk about suicide and stuff, it's always the one theme that you hear is that I just feel lost.
mm, yeah,
That's saying I feel lost. I feel lost. So what that says to me is that they don't know where they belong.
yeah,
And you often hear, oh, I need to find myself.
mm,
I mean, yeah, you do, but for the most part, you know who you are.
yeah,
What you're actually wanting to find is what what do your attributes contribute to the world, and which
mm,
part of the world will they contribute in?
mm. But you usually like when I come into closing off, I usually ask everyone like a final question, and like my whole sort of like thought behind the final question is that at the end of it, I'll take everyone's answers from each podcast and clip it into like one montage.
That's
And then the question is pretty much just fucking, if you could say anything to enlighten someone, or if you had like a final message to the world, what would it be?
yeah. There is definitely a place for you in this world, and that you 1000% have something to offer the world and to offer people, and that you're not here by mistake. And I think that if you truly want to come into who you're supposed to be, then all you need to do is be open and honest with yourself and everyone around you. And it'll be in those conversations that one, you find yourself, and two, you'll find where you belong. And the biggest thing for me in my journey, in my realizations of how I see the world and stuff, is that the one thing that I didn't do well was communicate. And
Mm,
so that is really what I would say to anyone in search of themselves, is to just communicate and don't feel like you're a burden to anybody,
mm,
because the people that will listen to you speak will be the people that you need to be around.
mm.
So don't give up, and yeah, talk.
Sweet, bro. Nah, well, I just want to fucking thank you for coming on, bro, and just, opening up, telling us a little bit about yourself and, just the way you think about stuff, bro, is because you think about stuff a lot differently than a lot of people that I've talked to, not just on this, but, you know, in my lifetime, bro. You know, I feel like I see a lot of similarities in the way you think to how I think now. You know, now that I'm coming sort of through the path and out onto the other side, like a lot
Yeah,
of the things that you talk about and the way that you think about shit is ultimately starting to become the way that I think about stuff. So it's good to hear, bro, and it sort of gives me like validation, you know, to see someone sort of who's going through similar situations or similar yeah, just similar situations, bro, and knowing that you know, it's gonna be hard work to get out of it, but you know, obviously you're gonna get there along with still having
yeah,
your bad days along the way. But
definitely,
yeah,
definitely.
just want to thank you for coming on, bro, and just fucking, you know, just giving us
Uh,
a look into Corey Chaos's mind, bro, and you know, trying to give us a little peep into the calm of the storm, bro.
yeah, no, thanks for having me, and no, I enjoyed this corridor for sure. It's I love the mahi you're doing, bro, and trying to just make speaking okay,
Mm,
and it's mahi that more of us need to do. So, well done to you as well.
yeah,
Um, if there's oh, there's a few, I guess, little links that I could probably share with you as well for people that want to kind of get a little bit more of an insight on some of my I guess thought processes.
yeah, yeah.
um, I study a lot of Jordan B. Peterson's
He's the man, bro.
books and interviews and things, and Jay Shetty is another one.
Yeah.
And I'll finish by saying that I think we get hung up on burning bridges with people, but just remember that the universe burns bridges because the universe hears the conversations that we don't. And what that means is that it's okay if you burn bridges with people because the likelihood is those bridges are being burnt because those people are also talking about
Mm.
you in a negative way as well. So don't be don't be afraid to lose people because we're gonna lose people along the way and we're gonna find better people at the end. So
Turn on the radio.